Alright, what's up guys? My name is Zack, and today I am driving a 2006 Chevy Avalanche Z71. Up front is a 5.3 liter V8, and down below is a 4-speed automatic transmission. Now, I am super excited to be driving this Avalanche here today because, believe it or not, this is my first time ever reviewing a Chevy Avalanche. Now, the Chevy Avalanche was a pickup truck throughout most of the 2000s into the 2010s briefly that sort of blended a pickup truck and a Suburban. It offered more interior space than the Silverados while still offering a bed unlike the Suburban. So it was this sort of blended vehicle that actually lasted 2 generations. And so today we're driving the final year of the first generation Chevy Avalanche. But if you'd like to submit your own vehicle and have it reviewed here on the channel, you can head on over to my website, zackpradel.com/submit. It's a quick and easy submission form. It takes under a minute to fill out, and I come out to you. And if you'd like to see all my videos weeks or sometimes months in advance, you can head on over to my Patreon for only $5 a month. Last but not least, huge thank you to Low Mile Cars here in Burr Ridge, Illinois for letting me borrow their Chevy Avalanche with only 75,000 miles on it. They are absolutely wonderful. You can go browse their inventory with the link down in the description below, but more on them towards the end of the video. But let's get back to that 5.3 liter V8 under the hood. Well, there were only V8 offerings here in the Avalanche. You could find this 5.3 liter, made about 295 horsepower. This is the updated L59, which basically just got flex fuel, a little bit more horsepower, I believe 10 more horsepower if I remember correctly, over the earlier gen Avalanches. But there was also an 8.1 liter V8 available here in the Avalanche. So they did a heavy-duty 2500 Avalanche that came with the 8.1 liter that made 325 horsepower in 06. But if you actually buy an earlier Avalanche with the 8.1, from 02 to 03, it actually made 340 horsepower. So it actually lost horsepower as time went on. The 5.3 is great. It's wonderful. It's a wonderful power plant. And all that you would really need in a truck like this, if you wanted the 8.1 liter, if you just have a vendetta against personal finances, yeah, you could go buy the 8.1 liter and pay out the nose at the pump. However, I'm good with the 5.3 here today. Like I said, paired to it, 4-speed automatic transmission. This is our beloved, tried and true 4L60E. Does the job. They're not the most reliable transmissions on earth. They're actually somewhat unreliable, but I've also seen these with hundreds of thousands of miles with no transmission work at all, so I guess it's hearsay at this point. Last but not least, this particular Avalanche is 4-wheel drive. Now, originally you could find Avalanches in 2-wheel, but they later got rid of that after 2003. So 2004 onward, they were 4-wheel drive only, and this does have the Z71 package, which is basically off-road suspension, GM's AutoTrack full-time push-button 4-wheel drive, all-terrain tires, 17-inch alloy wheels. It also got leather seats, front bucket seats, OnStar, all-weather floor mats, dual-zone climate running boards, and heated mirrors. But with that ride quality and driving experience, it does have off-road suspension for the Z71. How does it feel to drive the Avalanche? It really drives like a Tahoe or Suburban. I mean, there's no major difference here. It also doesn't have the quadra-steer like some of the trucks did in this era, so it drives like any Silverado, any Tahoe, any Suburban, any GMC Sierra or Escalade of the time. It's fine and it's dandy. There is something very familiar about it, very homey about it. Every time I drive a GMT 800, it does sort of feel like this homecoming style event where I'm back in my element. And so that's nice. It's very predictable, usable, and reliable. With that stuff out of the way, let's talk about the interior. Well, in front of me, I have 6 gauges. Off to the left is the tachometer, in the center is the speedometer, and off to the right we have oil pressure, battery voltage, fuel, and coolant temperature. This gauge cluster is known to go bad. This, obviously, with its low mileage, hasn't gone bad yet, but that is something you might want to look out for. On the steering wheel, on the left arm, we have voice commands, program, and source. On the bottom left arm, we have our information for trip, as well as fuel information. And off to the right, we have our seek and volume. And to the bottom right, we have information and go back. Off to the left, we have a climate control vent. We have our push button 4-wheel drive system for auto, 2 high, 4 high, and 4 low. We have our headlight switches as well as our interior dimmer switch, rear bed light, and our fog light button. Moving on to the door, we have our pedal adjustments, we have heated seats, we have our memory seat options, as well as our get out mode, which will move the seat back to allow easy access, power mirrors, power windows, and power locks. Moving into the center, we do have a touchscreen infotainment system. This is incredible for 2006. Very, very nice to see that. It does have navigation. We have buttons for seek and band and a CD player. But down below that, we have our climate controls. As I mentioned with the Z71 package, we do get dual zone climate. And let me tell you, it is a little warm here today. I have the AC cranked, and I might as well be on the North Pole. It is frigid in here because the AC is just so good. GM knew how to do seats and they knew how to do AC of this era, and boy, both of them are really kicking in today. To the right of that, we have our climate control vent, we have our traction control off, and moving down the center console, we have two 12-volt outlets, one cigarette lighter, just one traditional outlet, bunch of cubby space, and moving into the center, we have even more cubby space, which includes a cup holder, actually two cup holders, so we will do a big friggin' bottle test, and I'm very happy to report that it does in fact pass the big friggin' bottle test. Then we get a nice big center console and the seats. The seats are very comfortable, very plush. You sink into them, they hug you, they comfort you, and they are heated. In 06, that's a pretty nice feature to have, so I really enjoy it here. However, speaking of seats, we do have back seats, so let's go do a back seat review. All right, let's get into the back of the Chevy Avalanche. We do have a grab handle, kind of odd up here. Pull yourself up, and there you go. You do get a little bit of space. For the era, the Silverados had less space back here. So this actually is an improvement. It doesn't look like it, might not feel like it, especially compared to modern trucks that have like swimming pools amount of size in the back. This doesn't feel amazing, but it actually is quite a bit more than normal. Up here, we also have a, try to shield the light, a Panasonic DVD player with a screen that comes down. So this was quite the loaded Chevy Avalanche. Very, very cool to see that. Down here, we also have headphone connection, Seek program source. We can turn on the radio back here. We have our own vents. We have pull down cup holders, and we have even more cup holders here in the center of the back of the Avalanche. Here is our remote control for the Avalanche's DVD player. So cool. I mean, when was the last time you saw one of these? Very, very cool piece of, well, really automotive history, GM history, whatever you want to call it. I'm 5'11", not a small guy. I fit back here fine enough. Again, trucks of this era, especially the Silverados, the single cabs especially, obviously they didn't have back seats. They're very, very crammed. And so this was a pretty big upgrade. This was kind of the advantage of the Avalanche, is that you still had a bed, but you had some decent back seats, basically the back seats of a Suburban. So it's nicer, not the nicest place ever, but I have a DVD player, I have headphone controls and radio controls and cup holders, so I'm not going to complain too much. Let's hop around the back. We'll take a quick look at the bed as well as the midgate, and then we'll talk about the looks. All right, around the back of the Chevy Avalanche, and this is what everyone's been wondering about. Something kind of interesting, and why people call it, a Tahoe with a birth defect or whatever, really Suburban with a birth defect, is that there's no hard line separating the bed and the rest of the body. Normally in pickup trucks, you get that separation. You don't actually have that. You also have these very big side guard things. I'm not totally sure their purpose. I think just for aerodynamics and looks. I don't think they serve any utilitarian purpose. But we do have a rear bed. Obviously, we have some leftover floor mats and things like that. And of course, you do have a tonneau cover. Pull that, and you can lift it up. You actually get an image of an Avalanche here on the back, which is very, very cool. So put that back down. You also do get a very interesting pattern here on the tailgate, but we do have another fun feature. So come in here. So pull this up, then you can push this down, and you got to come over to the other side. Pull this up, pull this down, back over to the other side. Make sure these are unlocked. There you go. So you hit this. This comes down, and there you go. you now have access to the truck bed. And obviously, if you do push these seats forward, this will fold flat, this will fold flat, and it does extend the bed of the truck. Now, you can also put this back into place, fold this stuff back up. You can pull these latches, that and that, and then you push that in. You can pull this rear window out. So you can have basically this whole area open to the back of the truck. Very, very cool. The modern Silverado actually does this too. So we'll put this back in, but yep, it has this little catch here. You push that forward and then you lock these down. So kind of cumbersome, not the easiest process in the world, but a process that you can do to open up the rear end of the Avalanche. I need a break. Now we gotta talk about the looks, and this is where it starts to fall off just a little bit. I don't think that the Avalanche is very attractive. The front end, great. The back end, great. The side profile, less great. I think it's a little odd looking. People call it a Tahoe with a birth defect, and they're not fully wrong. It kind of looks like it came out of the oven a little undercooked, and that'll bleed into our final thoughts here in a second. But it is interesting, it is kind of radical, and anytime I see one, it always makes me scratch my head a little bit. But seeing one here in nice condition is great, and the later Avalanches got rid of the plastic cladding on the side. The early first gens had this plastic that ran down the side, and it was so low quality that GM actually offered a free cleaning service to refurbish these side claddings, and it didn't really work, so they offered money back, and it was just a horrible disaster. So they got rid of the side cladding. I think this is a lot cleaner look, a lot better of a look, and I'm happy with that. With all of that being said, let's get on to my final thoughts. What do I think finally driving a Chevy Avalanche? This has been one of my white whales for years. I have never driven an Avalanche. I see them a fair amount. I think it's an iconic, odd GM car of the 2000s, and so I was very excited to get behind the wheel. Here's the thing. First of all, I really wanted to make this video on this specific Avalanche because it is in such good condition. I don't think you'll find one in this condition, possibly ever again. These were used and abused. Vehicles like this, the Tahoe, the Silverado, people bought them and they towed things. They drove their family across the country. They did many, many things with them, and so they got used, abused, chewed up, and spit out. Well, this one has somehow resisted the chewing and the spitting, so it is in good condition, and I wanted to share that with you. But let's talk about the Avalanche as a whole. Why did Chevy build this? And that's a genuine question that I don't really know the answer to. Why would GM build this? I don't know. I don't know why someone would want this, because if you want a closed SUV with a third row, buy the Tahoe or Suburban. Or if you wanted a pickup truck like the Silverado, buy the gosh darn Silverado. I don't know anyone that really needs the middle ground of this truck. Maybe if you have specifically short dirt bikes, I guess, yeah, that would be great. And you get a little bit more interior space, actually a fair amount more interior space than what you got in the traditional Silverado. So that's nice. But there doesn't seem to be many big benefits of the Avalanche. Using the midgate, as you saw, was kind of stressful, kind of a process that it didn't really need to be. If I just had a regular Silverado, it wouldn't have to fold down any midgate at all. I don't really understand this vehicle at all. And if you have an Avalanche, or you have a cousin, aunt, uncle, whoever that owns an Avalanche, please tell me in the comments down below. Why did they pick this over a Silverado or over a Tahoe? It kind of, to me, feels like the worst of both worlds. But what I love is what this Avalanche stands for and what it shows. GM pre-2008 was able to build vehicles like this just because they could. Maybe this didn't serve every single customer, but for those few people looking for a special truck like this, it actually worked out pretty well. This was probably exactly what they were looking for. And honestly, to me, like genuinely, I cannot believe that they ran the Avalanche for 2 separate generations. there's a GMT 900 Avalanche as well. So they obviously got enough people to buy it to warrant a second generation. But after 2008, people started to consolidate. They weren't spending as much money on cars, and if they were, they needed something more practical than this. It kind of fell by the wayside and ended up somewhat flopping. But an 11-year run, that's pretty impressive for a truck that only a mother could love. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Huge thank you to Low Mile Cars here in Burr Ridge, Illinois for letting me borrow their Avalanche for today's video. They've been absolutely wonderful. I have reviewed so many of their cars in the past. I have been searching for an Avalanche for years and years and years, and Low Mile Cars was able to deliver. Please go check out their inventory if you are into low mileage, clean examples of vehicles. They are the place to go to. They always have cool and interesting inventory, and this happens to be their flavor of the day. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Don't forget to rate the video, comment on the video, and subscribe if you really liked it. Take care, guys.